Yeah, it said if you're smart, skip it or something.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Fascinating.
It's worth a read. It's worth a read and a possible rebuttal.
Oh boy.
Okay. I'll get on that later.
Yeah.
All right, here we are. Small skeleton crew this week, but this is recap roundtable for 19.3. Mitch is in the Dominican. A couple people have meetings and patients early, so we have a small crew here. We've got Sarah, Jeff, and Kristen. So 19.3 this week was a little chipper for time, 200 feet of a single-arm dumbbell overhead lunge, 50 pounds for men, 35 pounds for women, right into 50 box step up, same dumbbell weight. 24-inch box for men, 20-inch for women. From there into 50 strict handstand push-ups. And if you got through the handstand push-ups, the last bit was another 200 feet, this time of handstand walks. So we'll kick over to Sarah first and get Sarah's thoughts on this workout.
Great. I did this on Friday, and I was excited to see strict handstand push-ups. Even though that's not a strong movement for me, I thought that was a really great element to add into the Open this year, especially because the handstand standard has been so difficult for people to meet and to judge, and I think there was a lot of pushback on that. It's hard to standardize something like that, and so having the strict component was good, and it really set people apart. And actually, the scaled version was incredibly hard too, because I know at least in my coaching experience, there's a large group of people at my gym who feel uncomfortable getting upside down. So even getting into a handstand, let alone lowering themselves and pushing back up with no kip, that's kind of out of their league. So that was a little disheartening at our gym, and so we always come up with what we call the Ballard CrossFit version if it's important for people to come and work out. And especially if they're not entering their scores and they still want to be judged, we'll kind of come up with something if that's appropriate. So we had them doing push-ups instead. And I know some gyms did strict dumbbell presses because that was the master's scale. So anyhow, I was excited to see that. I think that was a cool new element. The dumbbell we've been seeing before in the same weights, that box was high. I thought that was a pretty high step up for having a weighted component to it, but I also have a sprained ankle that happened on Wednesday. So I think I was just really cautious with that stuff. I was really taped up and I wore my high top nobles and did the best I could, but I was pleased with that. I haven't done strict handstand push-ups since 2014 at regionals, in which I was no-repped a million times and yelled at, no, what did they say? Head, not hair, head, not hair, to myself and my female counterparts, because I think it was a movement that we weren't strong at. So I'm still not super strong at it, but I was able to eke out a few.
Do you redo them, or you're not going to redo it probably?
I don't typically redo them, and I think that the setting, especially with my ankle, I don't really want to redo that, but the setting in which I was performing in was helpful for me to be able to get the 3 handstands that I got. So I think that I'm good with that. But I'm going to be practicing my strict handstand push-up now because I love handstand push-ups and I can kip my way out of anything, but it's always revealing to say okay, I can do, a deficit kipping handstand push-up, but I can't do a strict handstand push-up. This is problematic. And that's problematic as practitioners for us to realize that people are basically kipping their way into positions that they didn't earn. And I talk about that with my patients all the time, and then I do it too. And, that will explain that little bit of shoulder impingement that you're getting or, whatever it is. So I think it's important to live what we're teaching.
Yeah, I think that head, not hair is big too. A lot of people, even whether they're doing strict or kipping during regular training. Yeah, I think a lot of people learned Friday watching that little bit of range of motion between your hair and your actual head is the range of motion that a lot of people don't actually have. They're getting stuck. For those who don't know, the handstand push-up last year for the kipping during the Open was a tape on the wall above your heel, and when you kipped, your heel had to clear the tape. The box was also less wide last year, so some folks that had to be more narrow just couldn't get the range of motion. So I thought the box this year was 36-inch wide box was quite wide. I didn't see anybody that needed to take the full advantage of the full width, but much wider box this year than last year. Kristen, what about you? How'd you do? We can't hear you at all. Are you muted?
All right.
Yep, here we go.
Yeah, I decided to scale it because depth has always been an issue for me on my handstand push-ups, although I do love strict handstand push-ups, but I'm still working on my depth. So I was able to get 35 elevated ones, so I was pleased with that. So it was, I was able to place at my gym, which was cool, especially being that I'm older than most of the people in my gym. So that was cool, but I was tempted to redo it, RX, but I don't think I'm going to have time today, so I'm not going to do it. But I do love seeing the strict movements, and I think even the overhead lunges is a really great training movement that I've never seen in a WOD at my gym, and that's Winnie. But I think that those movements need to be trained more and more regularly because just corresponding to more strength in those overhead positions. Yeah, but I like that workout. It was a good workout for me.
I like that you mentioned that because we do a lot of accessory work after the workout that's either overhead lunges or overhead carries, and you could see Friday night who's the person that skips out early on accessory work and who are the people that stay. You could see the people who that was a 10-minute overhead lunge workout versus the people who got through it in a couple minutes and moved on to the next piece. So I like.
Yeah, I was going to say that too. Like even the weighted step ups. Like I do a lot of that accessory work on my own, and I program it for some of the athletes that I see independently. But those just aren't movements that you see oftentimes in WODs, but that would correlate to significant improvement in some of the main lifts if they were done regularly. So, yeah.
I'll go next, and then we'll hear Jeff's thoughts because Jeff still has to do it today. He hasn't done it yet. So I scaled this Friday night. I did the front rack lunge. The scale for the box step-ups was the same, and then I did the elevated handstand push-ups. I really like this workout because it was like all legs. You were like, am I going to make it? And then all of a sudden, legs went out of the equation, and it went into an arm workout. I made it. I scaled the handstands because I had some pain in the regular strict without the elevation. So I got through 49 of the elevated handstand push-ups, which after a certain amount of elevated handstand push-ups, I think it doesn't matter that they're elevated anymore. Your shoulders start to feel the same way. And then I'm going to redo it today. Depending on how my shoulder feels, I haven't warmed up yet or anything. I'm going to do the overhead lunge and the step-ups, and then if my shoulder's still buggy, I'm going to stop there, or I'm going to try some strict today. But I really like this workout. It was a fun feeling to feel that quad burn in the lunges and the step-ups, and then to dump the legs out and switch to arms entirely. So it was a fun feeling. It's a fun workout. Jeff, hearing all that, what's your strategy?
Yeah, man, this one for me, I apologize for my voice. We had a very big group in Olney, Maryland this weekend. I got back very late last night from teaching, so the voice is still kind of on recovery mode as usual on Mondays for me. This one's a scale, Al, for me. I can't do that a full strict handstand push-up. I can maybe give you a few singles, but no reasonable string of those together. So that'll have to be scaled. And really, we actually program a fair amount of overhead kind of lunge work. Al, do they ever dictate how many you have to do in both hand, or are you good to just rock your dominant hand for all your lunges?
So the standard this year for the overhead lunge is that you can't change the dumbbell mid-lunge. You have to stop and go back to the last line you crossed, or wait until you cross the 25-foot mark. So the common strategy for this is to get through the 25 feet at a time, switch hands, and then keep rocking it. But there's no rule in alternating. You're certainly free to rock it in one arm the whole time. Same thing with the step-ups. The step-up standard is that it has to be on your shoulder, and you have to have one hand on it, but you can keep it on one shoulder or the other. We had some folks behind the neck too, which I tried that for about 10 reps, and that feels like shit. I wouldn't recommend that. You feel that right in your low back? You like that? I hated that. Yeah. I felt that right in my low back. Some people were saying it helped them feel like they could breathe better, but I didn't like the way it dumped me forward on the higher box. Like I felt it almost like a deadlift type feeling. So, and then some people suitcase carried on the step-ups too, which I don't recommend that. That's going to blow your arms up before you get to the handstands.
Gotcha. Yeah, so I have significantly better shoulder stability on my right side with all overhead work, even barbell work. Matt and Clancy are always cueing me that left shoulder really has a hard time kind of locking into place, even though my mobility is actually better on that side. So I'll probably favor my right side for anything that I do as far as that kind of lunging stuff. So the overhead would be really challenging for me, and the strict handstand push-up in full depth would be a real nightmare. So scaling is going to be what it is, and even with scaling, I'm really impressed with all of your numbers on the scaling handstand push-ups. I've never tried this many, but there is no way that I think that I'm going to wind up where you guys are. I think it's going to be a whole bunch of dubs put together, and honestly, I'm concerned about no reps because I think I'm not all that comfortable being upside down, and I think that my feet are going to be all over the place. I think it's just going to be one of those where Clancy's kind of looking at me like, man, the sooner this wraps up, the better.
So a good strategy for even the elevated handstands is that when you come back down, to kind of flip your head parallel to the ground, engage your pecs, keep your lats on tension a bit more, and then kind of whip back out into that lockout versus just going straight up and down. And obviously, don't go to failure. This is handstands are a thing. If you go to failure, you're gonna be spending 45 seconds to maybe get one rep back again.
Got it. So I'm curious if we have a second. Sarah, when we were kind of getting this thing together here a moment ago, Sarah talked about some safety concerns that Men's Health Journal brought up. Sarah, I'm curious, looking at this workout, I guess I don't see any of these movements. There's not any speed involved. I'm wondering what their concerns were, and I'm sure that we'll have some good social media dialogue on that. But could you bring up, and could we wrap for a second on what that was and maybe get some thoughts on it?
So that was Kristen that brought that up. So I haven't read the article.
Sorry.
Yeah, that's okay. So Kristen, why don't you speak to that, and then I do have some thoughts, though.
Yeah, I think I didn't read the full article yet either, but it's basically saying that not to do the workout, that it is smart for people to skip the workout, mostly because it places the position of the handstand push-up, placing the shoulder in a compromised position, and claiming also that the movements that are in the exercise or in this WOD are not trained in most CrossFit gyms. So just that most CrossFit gyms emphasize the kipping handstand push-up, whereas the workout was the strict. And then I don't know if it was also wrapping on the lunges, the overhead lunges or not, but it was definitely not favoring that anyone should be doing strict handstand push-ups. Decreasing, I think it claimed that it decreased the subabdominal space to a point that is not smart in the shoulder. That's all I got from it, but I need to read the full article.
Sure.
Yeah.
So my comments on that would be that what we were speaking to right before I think we went live is somebody like me, I can like kip my way out of anything, and then I can't do a strict handstand push-up. So to claim that this is, well, I was able to eke out 3, but to claim that this is dangerous, I think is kind of crazy, because if you can't do it, if you're not strong enough to do it, you're not going to be able to hurt yourself. Meanwhile, a kipping handstand push-up is merely technique. If you can figure it out, then you get into a position that you didn't earn, and now you're putting risk to your shoulder. In fact, most people put a lot of risk to their cervical spine because they're like impacting down so hard, where I know many, many people at my gym who normally are like, I'm never doing handstand push-ups because I get neck pain or headaches or whatever for a week. We're able to do this and they're fine. So again, the open is just a point in time to test. It is a test, right? And so and it's so well designed. We saw this last week where you would look at the heavyweights and be like, I can do that weight, but that doesn't mean that you're going to get there, right? So the open is so well designed to basically like tease out the cream of the crop. The cream will rise to the top, right? And so I don't think that people are going to get to that injury point with this, personally. I just don't think that that's not the goal. So I'm so tired of hearing that stuff, because it sounds, it like demonizes CrossFit, like we're trying to hurt people. That's why like Pukey the Clown and stuff, we don't use that stuff anymore. And it never should have been used in the first place. But I don't think that that's problematic for people for the most part for this.
I also think to generalize that strict handstand push-ups are not programmed at all in CrossFit gyms is a gross generalization that is not accurate. I think the degree of which they are programmed varies, and like it would for any movement. But yeah, it's an article worth looking at, picking apart.
I'll read that later today.
Yeah.
Well, and as a medium that also gives out training information, maybe that journal or that magazine, I should say, should create like a strict handstand push-up program so that people can work on it. So maybe we're doing strict press and we're doing eccentric lowering, like all these things that we actually do teach people in CrossFit gyms. If they want to promote that and make it safe, then come up with a program for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think lunges are pretty common across most CrossFit gyms. I mean, I've dropped in at a lot of places, and there's been some form of lunge at most of them, and we don't do step-ups, so we do box jumps and box jump overs and all that sort of stuff, so that's involved. And I mean, a 20-inch step is not much higher than a house step, so most people are comfortable stepping 20 inches, maybe not under load, but it is a common movement found in life, so I don't know. Men's Health is usually like 4x8 of supine dumbbell chest flies and bicep curls. Yeah. I don't put a lot of weight in Men's Health anymore.
Functional.
Yeah, it's not very functional in anything. So yeah, I don't have any safety concerns.
Yeah, I mean, I just feel like just like anything, if you don't train the movement, it's not going to be as safe to do with a significant amount of load. But most people are training those movements and going to get through it just fine, or not get to the most challenging part.
Yeah, and like Sarah said, if you don't have strict handstand push-ups, then there's no concern because you won't have any volume. A lot of people got through the box step-ups and then spent 5 minutes doing eccentric strict handstands with no actual press out. So
it's a great way to train.
Yeah, they got a lot of eccentric strengthening. Cool. What
I got handstand walks, and then I couldn't. There was no way I was going to get to that.
Yeah, I thought for sure I'd get past the handstand scaling it, but shut that down pretty quick. What do we think we're going to see 19.4, or what do we want to see, Sarah? What would you like to see?
Well, I think that now's the time for deadlifts. I wouldn't be surprised if we see snatches as well. We've had that before where we've had both of those movements in the same workout. I also think that we will see some more gymnastics, so probably a muscle up in there, whether it's bar or ring, or chest to bar, Jeff. He's shaking his head. We can.
Boy, that was a rough hit list.
I know.
And I mean, we're gonna be at Alan's gym, so I'm really hoping it looks a lot more like burpees and shuttle runs, maybe some light deads.
Maybe pull-up variations too.
Yep.
Haven't seen it.
Yep. What would you like to see, Sarah? What would your ideal 19.4 look like for you?
Well, I don't want to do snatches yet because that dynamic plantar flexion is going to bother my ankle. And that's normally something that I would be quick at. So I would love to see deadlifts because my ankle could just stay right there. I'd love to see like deadlifts and chest to bar.
Okay. Kristen, what would you like to see?
I don't think we're going to get another repeat, personally.
Okay. Yeah, we've already had one repeat, so we might be done with repeats.
Burpee box jumps are my jam.
Okay.
I'm so proud of those.
What else?
Movement. I'd like to see deadlifts too.
Okay, so maybe deadlift, burpee box.
I'd probably have to scale it.
Okay. A deadlift, burpee box, jump over, or box couplet. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Jeff, I know all the movements Sarah listed that haven't shown up yet are all outside of your wheelhouse. So what would you, besides burpees, 7 minutes of burpees, what would you like to see?
No, I like the one you just threw out. I like the idea of some deadlifts and burpee box jumps would be a wonderful setup. So let's pull for that.
All work, no skill.
Yep, as always.
So we haven't seen any variation of pull-ups yet. We haven't seen any variation of muscle-ups. We haven't seen burpees, deadlifts, snatches. We haven't seen any shoulder to overhead yet either. So, and we haven't seen, we saw a little bit of squatting with the squat clean and wall ball, but there could still be something with back squats or front squats or overhead squats left too. So I would have to agree. I like burpees. I like box jump overs. I like deadlifts. So I hope it's something like that. You know, there's always the rumor that the assault bike will finally be included this open, although that's been the rumor for multiple CrossFit Opens. Just because the reason it's not programmed, the same thing with running, is that a lot of gyms don't, you know, a lot of gyms have rowers but not assault bikes. They don't have ski ergs. They don't have space to run. So that's why it's traditionally rowers, although we haven't seen any rowing for cows, any heavy pulling on the rower yet either. So that's all out there.
What about 19.1?
Oh, yeah, you're right. Yeah, you're right. Wall balls.
You blocked it out.
I thought we saw a lot of it, yeah.
I blacked out on that. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, we did have cows on the rower, so you're right. Yeah, so that probably nothing rowing left, but maybe, I think it would be cool to see assault bike. I like assault bike, so yeah.
I'd like that.
So 19.4 is, well, Jeff is going to be up here. We're having Fitness Athlete Live this Friday here at CrossFit Fenton. So Jeff is coming up. Zach Morgan will be here. Zach Long will be here. Mitch will be back in town. And then we'll have a bunch of other folks from the course that are going to sneak up here and do 19.4 here. So we're hoping to run a couple physical therapist-only heats of 19.4 for Friday Night Lights. So that'll be super fun. A lot of the folks here, a lot of the gym members are excited to see all the PTs come in and get after it. So Jeff, don't let us down.
I'll give you everything I got.
Any final thoughts before we wrap up here? I know you guys have patience in a couple minutes.
Good luck.
Good luck.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good luck, Jeff.
Yep.
All right, folks. We'll be back next Monday morning for a recap roundtable of 19.4, and we'll see you then.
All right.
Awesome. Thanks, y'all. Thanks, everyone.
Yeah.